Okay guys, as you know, not all of the latest ECMAScript functions are supported by the browsers, and you may have a situation where you're writing code and the user is using a browser which is somewhat older, so it cannot understand your code. In such cases, it's recommended to use the so-called transpilers, which will grab the modern version of the code. For example, like this function here, we're using arrow function, and we'll transpile it into understandable version, which most of the browsers can interpret. So, for example, if we are using const, we see that it will be transpiled into var here for the older browsers, and this can be done automatically for us if we choose to use Babel. Okay, the next thing is if we grab this code and we would like to minimize it. Actually, we have to go into online minifier, and here's the output, and we see that we saved almost 40%, which will means faster downloading for the client. Every time if we would like to use those methods, we have to copy our JavaScript code here and then paste it into our files. So let's see how we can automatize this. For this operation, I'm recommending to use Webpack. Actually, Webpack is grabbing all kinds of assets that you're having, and is creating one bundle out of it with a single JavaScript file. Once configured, it's very easy to use it. Also, it has an option, instead of all the time typing this code and then pasting it, it has integrated web server, which will allow us, while we are typing something in the code, to be automatically refreshed our browser, and the changes for us to be able to see immediately. In order to install and configure Webpack, we will need npm, which is part of Node.js. So I recommend installing first Node.js. You can just download it and install it pretty much very easily. Here we are in Ubuntu, so I have it already installed. If I type node -v, I'll see the version, and then npm -v, not package manager. I also will see the version of npm. Okay, now we will go to our project directory. So it's inside of desktop project, and here we have two files, and as you can see inside we have just two inputs and one JavaScript file which will alert one parameter. That's the rendering of our index.html file, and the submit button is alerting something to the user. Content of the program is not so important. We would like to automatize certain actions within our build. So we'll go back to the terminal, and now since this is our main directory, we would like to initialize our project by creating its package file. So we're treating the whole project as a package, so that's why we will type npm init, and this will ask us what will be the name of our project. Automatically it suggests us it will be project, the version of it, and a description. This is our first project. The entry point, I detected that it will be main JS. Okay, we can use this file for now, and we can set up also a Git repository, but for now we can type our name here as an author, and if everything is okay, our file should be created. And actually this is the contents of our file. As you can see, it's a JSON format. Okay, let's see now how we can install Webpack. We go to the documentation and then guides and then installation. And we see for the local installation, we will just type npm install savedev webpack. So we'll paste this into our terminal here. And we see that we are fetching a lot of packages and modules which will be installed into our project. We'll wait for the installation to finish. Okay, we see that we've added this package, and now if we see the contents of package.json, we see that we have a new entry here automatically added from npm, and now we see our package Webpack is required here. This means that we can distribute our package without the need of distribution of its dependent libraries. So if we see once again what's inside of the directory, we see a folder called node modules, and if we go there, we see all those additional modules which are installed, and they are taking space. So by having this package.json file, we can grab only our needed files without the node modules directory, and the next person who would like to install our package just will type npm I or npm install, and this file will be read, and all those dependencies will get installed on its computer. This makes the distribution of our project very easy without the need of all those additional modules to be transferred from one computer or from one person to the other. Okay, that's the reason why we are using configurators. So once we have Webpack, let's continue with the installation. We also would like to install Webpack CLI, and we have it here as an option. So we just copy it, and the same way we paste it into our screen. Again, the installation starts, and we see a Webpack CLI is also added. So now, if we go to the package.json again, here we see another dependency listed from our project. So now we will edit this file to configure our Webpack so we can try using it. So we'll type nano package.json. You can use any kind of editor here, and we'll modify a little bit this test script. So we'll type here build, and instead of echoing, we'll just run our Webpack. So we'll just type here Webpack. We save the document, and now if we exit and we'll type npm run, and we'll specify this script that we would like to run, which is build. This will run our Webpack. Of course, we see some errors because we need to set up our project now for Webpack usage and to give it a configuration. Okay, for this we'll go back to our browser, and here from getting started, we see how one project looks like in order for the Webpack to work. So we have the name of the project, this is the directory, then we have our package.json file, our index file, and under the source we have our index.js file. So we'll try to recreate a similar structure, and we go to our project directory, and we'll create one new folder which will be called source. This folder will contain our entry points, so those are main.js, index.html. We'll go to Visual Studio Code and we'll open the package JSON. We see here that the main entry point is called main.js. Actually, Webpack, we would like to have entry point called index.js. So we correct this, and also here inside of source we will rename this file into index.js. Okay, and we'll go back to the terminal and again run this command npm run build. And now Webpack detected our configuration, detected our main file and entry point, and if we go to the Visual Studio Code, we see another directory which has a main.js file, and inside we see actually the representation of our code. Okay, if we go to our browser, we see that actually we don't have index.html directly here, so we have to append the source directory. And now the main.js is also not found. We can correct this by using index.js, and our script should work now. Okay, let's now try to use this main.js from our dist directory, because this directory actually will be the directory we will be placing in our live server, in our production server. So we're developing everything inside of our source. Afterwards, we're running Webpack. It makes its optimizations, runs its different parsers, etc., etc., and then it produces code which will be placed in the dist folder, which will place in our live or production server. How to do this? In order to recognize HTML and automatically bundle something from our dist folder into the HTML, we'll use another plugin which is called HTML Webpack plugin and the HTML loader. For this, first we'll create one new file. So from here we'll create a file called webpack.config.js. A lot of config files, but once you set them up, everything will be okay. And we'll require the HTML Webpack plugin. By the way, we don't have it installed, so here we'll run one terminal. Once we are inside of our project, we'll again type npm install -- save def, and then we'll install HTML Webpack plugin and HTML loader, and we'll wait for those packages to be installed. As you can see, in our package JSON we have two more entries here, HTML loader and Webpack plugin. And now we're going back to our configuration. Here we'll require the plugin, so we'll type const HTML plugin equals to require HTML Webpack plugin. Okay, we're requiring this guy here. We'll set up some rules, so we'll set up the default structure module exports, and our module will say we'll have rules, and there will be array of rules. Okay, for the first rule, we would like to grab all the HTML files, so we'll be testing against them. We'll write regular expression, so all the files which end up with this extension HTML, and we use our HTML loader for them. So folder HTML loader, and we would like to minimize the content of the file, so we'll pass one option, minimize to true. Okay, can format a little bit the document. All right. Okay, this is our first rule, and then after the rules we'll use our HTML plugin, so we'll initialize it. Okay, plugin. So we'll initialize this HTML plugin we just loaded, and here for its configuration we'll use the index.html file. So we'll use for the template our index.html file, which is in our source directory. Okay, and we'll output into our this directory. So we'll type file name. It will be called index.html. So far the file is configured. Once again, we're using one loader which will grab the HTML and we will minimize it, and a HTML plugin which will actually copy the information from the source, so the index.html, and we'll paste it directly into the dist folder. So this is the configuration so far for the Webpack. Now back to the terminal. We can run Webpack with this configuration, and we see that there are errors. We see that we have problem with the HTML loader. We go back to our code, and here in the use, actually we have to place the loader into an object. Okay, once again we save and return to the terminal and run npm run build, and we see that we have another configuration error. Okay, I'm showing you this, guys, just not to be careful and to stop developing, but just to carefully inspect your code. So here actually the problem is that we placed our plugins not in the right place. So we have our module, it has to finish and then to load up our plugins. Okay, so that's the proper configuration right now. And as you can see, little errors can cause you a lot of trouble, but once you have the configuration loaded, everything will be fine. You can also format the document so it can be easily seen. Okay, that's the configuration. We save, and once again we run it, npm run build, and this time everything works correctly. If we go to our structure of the code now, we see that inside of our dist folder we have index.html, and here automatically we have two entries which are index.js and main.js. Alright, so we don't need the index.js anymore. So inside of this is in the dist folder, our production folder. So in our development folder, in our original source index.html, we can delete this index.js and save the file, and when running Webpack, it will automatically create here in the index.html entry for the main.js script. This means that if we load up this and then index.html here in browser, we are loading up the production code. We see that it works, so we can start developing our code without the need to inject JavaScript. Webpack will do this for us automatically. Now let's see how we can use Babel in order to transpile our code to be understandable for legacy browsers. First, we'll install certain packages. Those are Babel Loader, Babel Core, and Babel Preset Environment. We're using npm install and then save dependencies. Okay, so if we go into our package.json, we see those dev dependencies are being filled with the 3 new packages. Now let's go and start using them. Before loading up the Babel loader, we'll create one new file, Babel rc, and inside of this file we'll have this configuration. Actually we'll be using the preset environment, which we just installed, and this will be our preset. We can also configure different browsers which we would like to exclude or include into our transpile operation, so that our code is more understandable for certain subset of browsers. But for now this is enough. We save the file, and now it's time to configure the Webpack. So inside of the Webpack, we remember that we had some rules. We'll just copy the template for the rules and add another one. This time we'll be targeting all the files which are ending with a JavaScript extension, and also we would like to exclude the files which are residing in the node modules directory. This we are doing because we are not interested in all the modules here to transpile them, but just the needed ones. And now, instead of the HTML loader, we'll use the currently installed Babel loader, and we don't need any kind of options. So when we save, this is pretty much the configuration. Now we have two configurations for the HTML files with the minification, and for the JavaScript files when we are using a Babel loader. We can go to a terminal and type npm run build with the current configuration, and now if we go to our file and inspect and just review in sources panel, if you remember, we had one function which was arrow function, and here now it has been replaced by a normal function. So this function here has been successfully transpiled. Also, instead of lets, we see all the vars, which means that we're passing through the Babel, and it's transpiling successfully our code to be understandable. Alright guys, let's see how we can install a special server which will detect any changes of our code and refresh our browser when such occurs, so in our JavaScript files. For this, we'll go back to the terminal and we'll type npm, again install, and here we'll install Webpack dev server. So we'll type npm install -- save dev Webpack dev server. Okay, we'll be installing this right now. This will require a little bit of configuration inside of our package.json. While waiting for this to be installed, we'll add another script. So we'll be having one configuration while we want to export our production, which will be called build, and now we'll add another one which we'll call dev. And here, for this, we'll use our Webpack dev server. So this package we just installed, and as you can see, it's already updated our package.json file with it. Okay, so for the dev, we'll be using this. That's the simple change we needed to do. We save the file, and if we run npm run, but this time not build but dev, so this will start our Webpack web server, and it catched the entry point of index.html. Actually, here you can see that we can open localhost in this port. So we go to our browser, and we should see exactly the same project here, and we see also that live reloading is enabled. And now if we go back to Visual Studio Code and let's say modify something in our code, which is live reloading, we save and we go back and we click on submit, and we see our code is directly reloaded, and we can develop much faster this way. So that's how you install Webpack dev server. And of course you can add much more plugins and configurations, but we covered the main ones for successful JavaScript development. If you have enjoyed the information, you can subscribe to the channel.